So whoever invented the saying "third time's a charm" must have bought 3 Losi Nascars like I did in order to get a good one. That's right. On our third attempt here with the 2025 Joey Logano number 22 car, we have what I would call almost a perfect Losi Nascar. So we're going to talk about the experiences out of the box, what wrong things there were, and just some of the basic work that we've put into it and how we've got the car running so far. So I'm Chad. This is the Dorky and 40 RC channel. Great to be talking about the Losi Nascar in this fashion again. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members. If you are interested in joining the channel and helping support our racing and what we do here on the channel, you can click the little join button below. As always, drop a comment, give a like, and all that stuff. And speaking of the comments, be interesting to see how the comments are. You know, I'm really sad that so many people had problems, including myself, with the first run of these cars. Just because I got a good sample this time doesn't mean that like there's not millions or thousands more bad samples out there. Let's just talk it from the start. If you buy one at a local hobby shop, ask them like what their policies are. Like if you get a car and it doesn't do 90% of the things that it needs to do. Like I'm not talking about running hot laps right out of the box, because that's just not how it works. You do got to put some work into these, as we've demonstrated with our Losi playlist right here. Some of those videos are going to be very relevant to what we did to this car to make it even better. So see if you could take the car. I asked them to take the car out of the box in the shop, run it around inside the hobby shop to see if it centers correctly, if it drives straight. If you get a remote and it's all the way trimmed to the left and the thing is still pulling to the right, a lot of you guys that have owned these cars know the bad things that can happen with them. So let's talk about the few bad things on our car that we had from the start. First of all, we had 2 very wobbly wheels. They had to go. So that was unfortunate. I had already picked up an extra set of mediums just because I needed to have 2 glued fronts for on-road racing and just 1 for oval. So a lot of setup things like that we'll talk about. Second thing is this thing sounded horrible out of the box, but actually did not run too bad. And here's a little clip of what it actually sounded like.
13.6.
What I found out was if you look right here in the very, very back, the bearing that sits in the very back next to the spur gear back here is actually a larger sized bearing than the other 3 that are on the drive shaft. And in Losi faction, all 4 of them were the same. Now, I actually did end up replacing all my bearings with sort of fast steel bearings. $30 set, way more durable than these. I don't plan on ever having to open this thing up again if I don't have to. But the Losi bearings need to go. For $30, you get a better quality bearing, and running in the rough and tumble and oval, you're definitely going to need something that will take an impact. So that was a problem. Wrong bearings, had to fix that. All good. So 2 wobbly tires, incorrect assembly with the bearing, and then actually one of the screws that go into the rear diff back here either was not drilled out all the way properly or had a bit busted off inside of it. So I kind of had to like take the Dremel and remove some material so that way we could get that rear diff screw out. And once we did, we were able to access the rear diff and change the bearings back there. And I mean, if you take a look at everything here, I mean, everything is super smooth. We redid the shocks with 80 weight shock oil all around. Did all the bleeding and all that stuff from the underside like I've demonstrated in my videos before. So again, check the playlist up here. You can see by the tire wear that like the car is just working perfectly. I mean, we literally have like perfectly worn tires all around. It's pretty freaking amazing. And the way that this thing handles and everything is great. We did the bearings, as I said, we did the shocks. And then we have this set up for oval. So we have some weight added here on the side and the Sort of Fast 28 gram weight plate underneath the battery there. Once we got all of the weight all together, then we stuck this thing on the solid piece of granite up at Norcar, and we were able to put the actual corner scales on here and balance this thing out 50-50 corner to corner, and it ends up being about 52-48 rear to front. The only thing that I need to change now is I got another Y splitter here so I can get the fan hooked up. Just the fan doesn't work a whole lot, but any air moving in there, we do allow a heat sink on there because these motors do get obviously super hot, and just to increase the longevity of the motor, they've agreed with that. Take a look at the running video here. You can see that centering and recentering going down the straightaway, coming around the corners and everything is just fantastic. There's no issues with this car at this point now, other than just kind of driving it a little bit and me just becoming a better driver with it. These are, a little finicky car, but the thing that's so great about this car now is that I've got a good one. Is now I would really like to know how good can this platform be, because for $250, you have to ask yourself a different set of questions, because, instead of just running a box stock class, which I would be fine running this in box stock now. Last time we were taking electronics and stuff, trying to fix the actual issues with the car. Now I would like to actually put different electronics, use my other remote and such, and play with springs and see how good we could make this car on a budget. But we've got a couple of races that are coming up in on-road and for oval. So we've got a trophy race Tuesday night, and then there's another one on Saturday that I plan on attending. Hopefully I can make the one on Tuesday night. And then we've got the huge firecracker coming up, oval race in July. And so right now we're in on-road setup. When it comes to the oval setup, there's really not a whole lot that will change. I think there are a few rule changes that we have to do, at least at the track that we are going to be running at. And I think one of those is no additional, I can't remember if we're allowed to run additional weight on the left side for oval or not. I don't think we are, but what I will do is I'll just move things like the transponder over there, just do whatever I can to get a little bit more weight on that left side. When it comes to any kind of modifications, we've done nothing to this besides the bearings and the things that you see here. We've got the front tires glued. I need to go through and balance these tires as well, but you can see that everything spins nice and true. And from the video, everything just recenters perfectly. With the remote control that's up there, we did the usual thing where we take the baseball grip tape and wrap that around there to make the controller more comfortable in the hand. You can't adjust your springs or do anything like that at all. And now that I have this balanced 50-50, what I'm going to do is just take like this bright purple paint marker and kind of make like a line on my shocks. And I'm going to turn the shocks to kind of raise the car up a little bit, because there is a little bit of body dragging going on in the corner. So the car is like rolling so well. I don't want to raise it up any higher than I have to. And I really don't want to raise the body up. But if I have to raise the body up versus making crazy changes to the shocks, then that's what we're going to do. Because, one thing that we have learned is that, you want these shocks turned up as far as possible. You kind of want to go all the way to the top, turn them down a couple times, 2 full rotations pretty much on each one, and then get yourself corner balanced and all that kind of stuff. That way you can get the best performance. So if we take a look at where we started last week, I always like looking at the data. So The very first laps that we threw down with this thing was a hot lap of a 14.7 and a top 15 of 20.9. So obviously horrible. That was just playing around. Tires weren't even glued yet. I just wanted to see how the car would get around the track. By the time Saturday rolled around and we were running on road, didn't race the NASCAR that day, you could see that we had got our hot lap down to a 12.8 and our top 10 around a 13.0. So we were running super consistent. There was other cars out on the track. I just wanted to basically kind of test the track day after day. I think the fastest we had gotten before that was we threw down, I think, a couple 12.9s and some 13s, but the car just consistently got faster the more we ran it and the more that we got used to just driving it. So we're in pretty good shape here. So we're ready to go racing now with this thing. We've got things that we got to do. Like I said, we got tires that we need to balance. We're also kind of like looking forward into oval. We'll be switching to oval mode here in a couple weeks and probably start running this out locally a little bit just to see what it can do. So we've got to get those tires ready. We've got some wheel dots printed and ready to go to get everything balanced and all that beautiful stuff. And we've got a couple motors that we need to break in and lube up and have all of those ready to go for the big oval race, see which ones are the hot ones. And then of course we've got 2 batteries. Not going to buy any more batteries. One of them is going to just have to work. You're always going to get one that's better than the other. I kind of have an idea and I have them marked already as far as at least the internal resistances. Driving these cars and on road, they're very hard to drive, at least consistently for me, but I can drive them consistently in oval. So that's where we're really going to be able to see what combination of motor and battery is the fastest. And that's what we're going to be running with once the oval stuff kicks in. So I hope that you guys might give NASCAR another chance maybe out there if you're interested. I know like tracks attendance went down because people that had never raced before just didn't like the way things were handled. Maybe they've learned their lesson and maybe they want to start rebuilding their classes again because numbers are probably down for the summer. And with the way that things are going economically, if you have some disposable income, I'm sure that your local RC track would like to try to get a hold of some of that. So don't be afraid to ask if you can be accommodated. So that's it, guys. Come back and see how we do at our next races. We'll talk to you all later. Peace.